Hello, welcome to 20th Century Adventures. This is our artifact of the week and I'm really excited about it. We have two wool blankets here, and what's really special, at least to me, about these is these blankets were made by my great-great-grandmother, Mariah Gaddy. So that makes them real special. But beyond that, they are exceptionally cool as artifacts of the 19th century. Now, this style of blanket goes all the way back probably into the 1700s. It's a very simple wool blanket made of natural white wool. It's woven on a narrow loom. There's a seam right here. I'll try and show that to you. So there's a seam down the middle of it here, and that's where the two pieces of fabric are sewn together. So it's only about 30 inches wide here, and the other piece is 30 inches wide, and those two pieces of fabric are sewn together. Now this one's got a lot of wear on it. You can see it's got holes in it, and those holes, some of those holes have been patched. Here we've got a big square patch sewn in on this one, and there's several other patches as well. So it's amazing that this blanket survives, because it was obviously well worn and well loved. So this other one here is almost immaculate. It's got one thin spot in the middle, probably where there was weakness in the fabric when it was woven. But for the most part, it is solid as it was when it was new. And again, we see the seam down the middle, and that's hand sewn. So really, really cool. So for reenactors especially, now this woman, she was alive during the Civil War. My great-great-grandfather fought in the Civil War. So she lived through the majority of the 19th century into the 20th century, and made these blankets and quilts all her life. So if you were to go out, let's say the 19aughts or 19-teens, and you're going out camping in the woods, and you're going to take an old blanket because you don't want to take a new good blanket and roll around in the woods with it. You're going to take an old, somewhat worn blanket. You might take one of these. So if you're trying to recreate this as a reenactor, whether you do 18th century, Civil War, or early 20th century, this blanket is appropriate to all of those periods. And all you have to do is find yourself some good fabric. Now there's a slight difference in the feel and texture between hand-woven, hand-spun wool and modern wool fabric. So unfortunately, that's harder to find unless you can find somebody who will weave it for you and spin it for you. That's a lot of work and expensive. But you can take any wool fabric that's about 30 inches wide and sew it together to make a 60-inch wide blanket. And you're going to have a historically accurate old blanket, 19th century style blanket, which is what a lot of these guys that didn't have a lot of money going out into the woods, that's what they would have carried. It's something that was not used in the house anymore. So that's how that's done. Now they might have taken a white blanket like this and dyed it in walnut dye or something like that so that it doesn't stand out in the woods as much. But basically this is it. You can also take a modern wool blanket and cut it down the middle and then sew it back together. The only problem with that is you're going to have a raw edge in there that will fray some. These are the woven edges. It's hemmed on the ends where the fabric's cut, but your sides are the selvage and the middles are the selvage that are sewn together. So I really recommend finding 30-inch wide woven fabric and sewing your selvages together to make that. Make about 90 inches long, and using 30-inch wide fabric you'll get a 60-inch wide by 90 blanket. So anyway, very neat piece here, and It's actually, you can probably can't see it. I can see it here, but it's hard to see in the low light here, but it has my great-grandmother's initial embroidered in it at the end of the blanket. So, kind of neat. Anyway, that is my great-great-grandmother's blanket. Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed this, please like and subscribe, and be sure to share our videos because that gets more people checking in on what we're doing. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of these videos. I'm doing an artifact of the week every week, and for as long as I can keep doing it. So check back regularly so you can see some cool stuff. Thanks for watching, and see you down the road.